Hello, I'm Tori from the Quilt Fetch by Tori. I'm an international teacher, speaker, and pattern designer. And today we are doing a coffee chat with Kena Tangi Dorsey. And coffee chats are all about finding out who the quilter is behind the quilts or quilt designs. So let me go ahead and bring Kena on. So go ahead and unmute Kena, and I will bring you up. There you go. Hi.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Great. So like we talked about a minute ago, I'm just going to read down the questions and you can answer as much as you like. So our first question, because this is a coffee chat, is do you like coffee or tea?
Herbal tea. Not a coffee person at all. I actually like coffee flavor, but not coffee.
That's interesting. Okay. So where are you from?
I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I live in California, but I'm from the East Coast. So I lived in Pittsburgh, born and raised, grew up there. And then I lived in New York City for almost 20 years before moving to Los Angeles.
Okay. What brought you to first New York and then LA?
So quilting is probably like my fifth career. But everything seems to just kind of merge into one thing, and there's a logical progression. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit later. But I went to school. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I went to undergraduate there. I went to Carnegie Mellon University for theater acting.
Okay.
So after I graduated, I moved to New York and I was a Broadway stage actress.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so after doing that professionally, for about 18 years, I decided I wanted to be a different type of story teller, or actually just have the artistic license to create more bigger picture. So I moved to LA to go to film school.
Okay.
So that is what brought me to Los Angeles. I wanted to get become a director. So I moved to LA and went to grad school for film directing. And that's what brought me here. And then the timing of all of that was crazy. And I ended up kind of doing temp jobs in the middle of, productions and filming and things like that. And my temp job was at a high school. Okay. And it was just like office work. But the woman who has become my mentor, this is 13 years later, found out I was a filmmaker and asked me if I wanted to start a program there. So I ended up creating the film and TV program at the school. And that's so cool. Ever since.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so I direct the film program there, and then I also teach film and TV production at a college. So I teach part-time. I'm an adjunct at City College in the evenings.
You wear a lot of hats.
A lot of hats.
Thank you for sharing. So do you have a favorite childhood memory?
Oh, I saw this question. I was like, how do I narrow it down? And it was actually so fun to just kind of think about it and reflect. I'm like, oh my God, there are so many. And I haven't really thought about this like intentionally. But I would say probably one of my favorite childhood memories was hanging out with my best friend, Carla, when we were like, in elementary school in her basement, listening to records, like albums, not like MP3s. Uh-huh. Listening to albums, like one album at a time. And then we would take turns like singing the lead and acting like we were like the star, the lead singer. It was all about, performing and singing, and just those days when life was just so sweet and simple, and you just had your imagination. Those were probably my best memories.
That's a beautiful story. I feel like a lot of teens can kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
At least a little bit older generation. Mine was CDs. We would, me and my sister would put on CDs and do a similar thing.
Yeah, it's great. Same idea. It was records, but we used to put on Soul Train, get dressed up
Okay.
in her mother's clothes, and like dance with the Soul Train dancers. So it all, yeah, the whole thing.
Oh, that's so fun. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
So, how did you get into quilting? Did somebody introduce you?
Yes. So, all right. So I'll try and make this short because I know, you have a certain amount of time. So basically, remember, I told you I was an actress, right? And I lived in New York and I got cast in a musical called Quilters.
Okay.
So it was a play and it took place, it was a period play. It took place during the 1800s. And so I got this role, it was like all about these women quilters and they were pioneering, like in pioneering time. So whenever you're doing a play, there's a lot of research that comes with it. And like when you're preparing. So the theater hired a local professional quilter at the time. Now this is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
She hired a professional quilter to come and teach the actors how to hold a hoop because it was all hand quilted because remember it was the 1800s. So how to hold a hoop and how to look like, you like to actually do it because we had to like do things on stage and do lines and jump up and it had to look natural.
Yeah.
And so she came and she just taught us how to do hand quilting. And I fell in love with it as I was doing the play. And as I was doing the play, I was like, this is really amazing. I love this so much. And so I went to the costume shop and I was like, do you have any scraps? I think I need more practice. They're like, do we? And they just like had all these scraps. And so I was quilting my quilt on stage, but also after like backstage in the dressing room, after the show was over, I just started quilting and I was doing it constantly. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on with me. I love this. And then by the end of the run, I had made like a little wall hanging. And it was all hand quilted, hand pieced, cut with scissors, not a rotary cutter, right? And I said, my present when the show was over is I bought a sewing machine and the rest is history.
That's an amazing story.
Thank you. Isn't
that
crazy?
Is so like it's so unique to learn like as you're performing. That's amazing.
Yeah, totally.
Do you still do hand quilting?
No. I never looked back once I bought the machine. Actually, I was doing hand machine piecing and hand quilting for a long time.
Okay.
In the beginning. So I would piece and then I would hand quilt. And then I started like machine quilting. So the only handwork that I do now is like binding, or if I'm sewing on in ornaments or little pieces or whatever on my art quilts. Yeah, that's the extent of it. And honestly, I've become a machine binder. I know I'm so lazy.
No, I do machine binding too.
Just flip it over and sew. But yeah, sewing on the labels, just kind of things like that.
Okay. I was just curious because that's how you started. So I was just curious if it stayed.
Yeah. No, I evolved.
And that's okay. I mean, we came out with so many new machines and tools and things that I feel like most quilters have evolved. Yeah. That's so cool. Okay. Do you have any hobbies outside of quilting?
Well, prior to launching my business this summer, quilting was my hobby and not my business. So now I guess I'll flip it and I'll just say filmmaking is my hobby because I still do, even though I teach filmmaking and production, it's not that often I actually get to film something. So over the pandemic, I shot a pilot. And, I'm still working on independent films and things like that happens outside. So I guess it just kind of flops. So filmmaking, I'll say, is my hobby.
That's so cool. I'm so excited you're interviewing with me today. Filmmaking. Have you done anything that our viewers might have seen? Worked on anything?
Well, yeah, I did a lot of Broadway plays. If you got to New York from 1990 through 2006, you might have seen me on stage in Broadway. I was in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum with Whoopi Goldberg and David Allen Greer. I was in Kelly's Last Jam with Maurice Hines and Frida Payne, and I was in House of Flowers with Patti LaBelle. I was in Dreamgirls. I was in Once on This Island. The list goes on. I did a lot of theater, a lot of theater. That was the only thing. I didn't have side gigs. That was my full time. I made my living in theater. So one time I waited tables for 4 weeks during like a Christmas holiday thing, like much later in my career. And it was like 4 weeks as I didn't even wait tables. I was like the hostess.
Yeah.
And it was like a tide me over thing. And I was like, okay, that's good. I appreciate the restaurant industry more now. Never need to do that again.
That's amazing. Yeah. I did end up actually going to Broadway during that time. I was with my 8th grade field trip.
Oh my God.
I saw Judy Bang Bang.
Old Tori.
I'm on the younger side of quilters, But we went to see, Tootie Bang Bang is what we went to see. And that was, I kind of fell in love with it. I hadn't been to the theater before that. And then when we got back, I went to the Pantages a few times because we lived in California. So that was cool. Yeah.
And then filmmaking, I have a film called Jump the Broom. It's a movie musical. And I have another film called Sisters in the Name of Love. And I did a documentary called Portraits of a Black Girl. And I just shot a pilot called Diva Dads. And now I have a couple of things that I'm not going to talk about them, but like network stuff. We'll see if it works out. But I may be directing 2 network TV shows that are on the thing. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
That's so exciting. Yeah. Well, I hope it does work out.
Thank you. And I always try and I direct like music videos a lot and stuff like that. And I always try and sneak my quilts in there somewhere. So in all of my movies, like my quilt is somewhere, either it's like on the bed or like in the background.
Yeah. Use it. That's cool. I did see the other day an article, because Facebook sends you stuff they think you're interested in. Walking Dead had a quilt on display, and the designer shared it that it was an inspiration even for zombies.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. I know they make it in there. And then like I know Gilmore Girls, I had a best friend a few years ago who just loved Gilmore Girls. It was on her TV all the time. And I always noticed the quilt hanging on the background. If you notice the stairs, there's a quilt up there. It's a crazy quilt.
Oh, nice.
And I look at it every time it's on screen. I'm just like, that is such a cool quilt.
I know. And you're like, I don't know what's happening. I'm looking at the quilt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's so cool. You're able to sneak your quilts in there. I think that's amazing. So can you tell me about your first quilt?
So my first quilt. So there's the quilt that I made during the show.
Mm-hmm.
It was
That's right.
the year I first started. So it was hand piece, hand quilted, cut, everything. So it was a log cabin pattern. And I got all the fabrics from like Joann's or something like that. And yeah, so I finished that during the course of like a 2-month period during the play. And then my first quilt it was a bed size quilt, and it was hand pieced. I'm sorry, machine piece, hand quilted, and it was like stars, so it had points.
Okay.
So, as a bed size queen quilt, and that was like my first quilt.
Okay. Do you still have it?
I do.
Is it one you can show, or is it one that's tucked away?
Yeah, no, I can show it. Let's see. Do I have screen share? Oh, I don't have screen share. Oh, do you want me to show? I can hold it up, or do you want me to show a picture of it?
Whatever's easier. I can allow you to somewhere.
Here, I can go. Yeah, if you want to turn on screen share, and then I'll grab it as well.
Okay. How do I do that? I haven't done that before. I know it's here somewhere. Let me see. Oh, screen share. Duh. There we go.
So, so this was the quilt that I made during the show.
So cute. Oh my gosh, it's so cute.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
And this is, I'll do this. This is the quilt. I'm going to go to my overhead.
Okay.
So this is the quilt that I made.
Very nice.
I'll turn up the exposure a little bit. And I'll zoom in. You can see all the hand quilting.
Yeah. I love those swirls.
Isn't that fun? That was all hand quilted. So this was my, and it's a big piece. It's here, I'll go here. I'll hold it up.
Wow. We've all been there for sure. Quilts are heavy. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I love it. I love this quilt. I love it so much. Let's see. I think and I wrote the little label on there.
There it is.
2000 Little Stars, handmade by Kena Dorsey, 10/26/01.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was after now. I had done the show the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So I started, it's actually been 21 years I've been quilting. Let's see. Did I put one up there? I don't know if I put, I don't know if I sewed a label on here. Yeah.
I love it. It looks like in such good shape too.
It is, except for I don't know how it got coffee stains on it because I don't drink coffee. You know what? I think I used to have this on my coffee table. Oh. And I think that's what happened. But yeah.
Oh, thank you for sharing. I love seeing everyone's first quilt. It's so amazing.
Thank you. It's fun to talk about it.
Yeah. My first quilt was a rag quilt.
Oh, wow. That was ambitious.
Well, it wasn't too bad. It was just squares. And then left the rag, but it was flannel. And then I was, like, how old was I? 11, 12. And I insisted on putting faux fur, lime green, polyester, faux fur in it. And my mom, who was trying to teach me this, was like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "I have to have it." It doesn't rag, but it looks, it's still soft.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh, that is too cute.
That was mine. So yours looks amazing compared to mine. I love the colors too.
But look, you were how old? 11, you said?
11, 12. Yeah.
Yeah, I was your age. when I made my first one.
That helps.
So we'll give you a little grace.
Thank you. So, oh, I'm smiling so much, my cheeks are hurting. So now, what is your favorite style of quilts or quilting technique?
Yeah, so I love, it's a blend and it just kind of depends on the mood. I switch back and forth. Like I'll do one thing and I'm like, okay, now I want to do this. So I think it's kind of a blend of, well, I love applique. I love raw edge applique.
Okay.
So I'll say my specialty is portrait quilts and raw edge applique. But I also like mixing contemporary, modern, with kind of traditional techniques. I enjoy traditional quilts, but I'm not solely traditional. I like to always put a twist, like take it and like kind of re-envision it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's just in things that are bold and unexpected, unpredictable. I don't like perfect quilts. I like something a little bit askew, like off. Like I don't like symmetric. Like if it's this way on this end, we got to do something different, or we have to like mix it up. Because if it looks too like perfect, I'm like, no, it needs this. So I don't know what style that is, but that's just for my aesthetic. I like it to somewhere like not be perfect.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like it makes it a little more modern artsy.
Maybe that's it, modern artsy. And that's why I love quilting with African fabrics. And that is like my jam. I love working with African wax fabrics because the whole unpredictability of the patterns and the colors, they're all over the place. So the repeats it's going one way and then it just takes an unexpected turn. So if you're trying to make that work, you can't make it work in your just sort of traditional quilt. You really have to think outside the box, or you got to trust that your kind of traditional way of thinking is not going to work with those fabrics. You can't force those fabrics to work in tradition. You have to take the fabrics and let them sort of evolve and let you know what they're going to do. So sort of that kind of, it's almost like a communication, like a give and play with the sort of my dynamic in my relationship with my style of quilting. It's like, I like to have a conversation with it. I don't like to tell it what it's going to do. I like to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's called, but that's my style.
Oh, I love that. It's very organic. It helps you grow in the process. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
And you wrote an amazing article for my blog. She's our featured writer for November, Kena is. So if you're watching this and you want to know more about what she just spoke about, she wrote an amazing article for me and she's got beautiful pictures and you can go check that out. It's on my website at thequiltpatchbytori.com/blog and go check it out. It's beautiful. She's over here on my screen. So I'm like, go check it out. And we can see some of those behind you too. Do you have anything you'd want to share for now for the technique?
Sure. Let's see. I will go to screen share for that. So I'll go here. I'll go here and then so this is my favorite. I think you asked me about my favorite quilt, right? Or is that coming?
That's coming up. But okay. We can talk about it now.
So this is so this kind of shows the technique. Let me find. Oh, okay. I think you can see that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is kind of the art portrait, raw applique technique that I love. Wow. So this is probably my favorite quilt.
That is beautiful.
Thank you. I love her so much. I call her Black Butterfly. That's a little closer look.
Oh, wow.
And then this is also something that I'm working on. So this is with African fabrics. So this is a self-portrait that I'm working on. And so this is all African wax prints, except for these browns or like just regular quilting cottons. And then there's another one. I don't want to share. I wouldn't mind sharing, but it's a surprise for someone. So I don't want to show it yet, but maybe I'll just do a quick flash.
Ooh.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
So that's what's on my design wall right now. Ooh. I think can you still hear me or did I freeze?
No, you're still good.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's on. And then the thing that I was telling you about, that's my commission. This is this quilt. So that's more of my piecing sort of thing. So this is a commission that I need to get to the person by December. So it's ready to go. I just need to sandwich it and quilt it.
Okay. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. And then I think, yeah, you have the other ones on your website they can see, but I'll just show you. This is like sort of the African fabrics.
These were beautiful.
Thank you. And here's another African one where this has kind of the organic, and it's really simple. It's mainly strips, but it has that, organic improv feel to it. I just built it as I went. I didn't know what I was going to do from one block to the next.
That's exciting though.
Thank you. I'll stop sharing.
I was like, who keep hearing? I love looking at people's quilts. It's
you.
gorgeous.
Thank you for letting me share them.
Of course. Love it. So what inspires your creativity?
So I am a artistic person. So mostly artistic things. So things like art, music, theater, films, poetry, writing, culture, all of those things. I can read a book and think in terms of, colors, and if it'll evoke a certain creative emotion in me. I can be watching a play and the dialogue and the experience will inspire me. And then sort of just kind of what's happening in life, just kind of day-to-day things. So I just kind of look, I have that sort of artistic lens. So I find inspiration and then I want to come home and create. I can see something beautiful and then I just want to come home and create. So I would say just art and life in those kind of unexpected areas inspire me. And of course, seeing other amazing quilts and quilt artists and their work. There's nothing like that, right? Like you said, I love looking. It's just so inspiring when you're like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. How did that come out of their mind and their heads? So
I was thinking the same thing when you're showing your portraits.
Aww.
I've been fascinated by portraits. I think they're just amazing. I have no idea how people do that. Like quilters do that. I'm just like, oh, it's so cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love the way you described it too. It makes it a little more concrete when you say it evokes a feeling that kind of ties to color. And that way it kind of like, that makes it a little more concrete and kind of helps maybe another person who kind of has that, but hasn't embraced it yet, hear that and hopefully embraces it.
Yeah, color. It's like, it's really, we know this, but sometimes we don't know exactly how much color influences our mood, but
It's
it
true.
really is, color is so powerful that way, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, you might know this, but purple is one of the most calming, homing, but also intellectual colors. And I noticed that you have a purple wall. And I think that's beautiful. When I was a
Yeah.
kindergarten teacher, I had a purple wall, and that's kind of like what I was known for our little teaching group. Is I'm the room with the purple wall.
Yes, you found me out. Purple is my color. So my studio is purple. And pretty much I have to stop myself from adding purple to quilts that have no business having purple in it. So sometimes I'm like, oh, this is missing something. Oh, I know, purple. No. Purple does not belong in there. So yes, but I did not know. So you said it's intelligent, healing, and what was the other thing?
It's comforting and it's creativity.
Creativity. Wow, that makes so much sense. I always thought it was like when I was growing up, I heard like purple was royal, so I don't know. I think somewhere in my head, I was like, I've got to always have purple around me because I'm royal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's used for that too. I think it's because it is a trusting color and it's an intellectual color, so it goes really well with royal.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
But it was so fun to be known as the purple wall because that's what I learned in college was a little bit of how to design a classroom because we were talking a lot about universal design. And they talked about color, like having really strong red. And if you have red, it's going to be really exciting. It's going to give kids more energy. But if you have something a little more calming, like purple, it should help them kind of mellow and feel more at home. Like that's kind of aesthetics that you can kind of play with. Like you got a red wall and then have a purple wall, and you'll do like fun outdoor stuff in the red side of the room and then do more reading or something more calming on the purple side or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I get
yeah, that's something we went
that.
into. I don't know. I'm going to go off on a tangent if I keep talking about color, but let's get back to you. So do you have a favorite color palette? So we know you love purple.
Yes, so purple, so deep. So I love all so I love the purples, the blues, the greens. I love those together, purple, blue, and green. And then, splashes of like orange or red or yellow, like, I love those bold, vibrant colors. So that's my normal color palette, but I've enjoyed working on this quilt that I showed you earlier, the commission, because it's a lot of neutrals. It's browns and creams and black and white. And so that's kind of nice. That's kind of nice. But usually my goal too is bold. Yeah, contrasting. I love high contrast.
It's a good way to put that. Yeah, high contrast.
My
I can definitely see that in your quilts. I can see it. So what is your favorite quilting tool?
favorite quilting tool is this baby right here. My Quilters rule, my 6.5 by 24. Oh, I love this thing. It just works for any cutting application, like strips or angles or square. This.
All right. Oh, no, we are not it. Checking off too early.
Landscaper is here now, so I hope that you don't hear it. The lawn mower is going.
Trash truck it's coming down the street. I can hear it right now.
Oh, okay. I can't hear yours, so maybe I don't know if you can. Hopefully, you don't hear mine.
No.
Okay.
So hopefully we're good. Okay, so your favorite quilting rule is a ruler, which is great. I think a lot of people rely very heavily on that one ruler that we really just love. It works for a lot of things. So what is your favorite part of the quilting process?
I like probably right in the middle towards I love seeing it come together. So like the piecing and assembling part. Not at the beginning of the piecing, like somewhere in the middle when it starts, like where you're like, okay.
You're almost there, almost there.
Almost there. So I love when it starts revealing what it's gonna be. That's always so exciting. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it just gives me that motivation to push through. And then the quilting. And then I really enjoy quilting. I like to free motion quilt.
Okay. I can definitely see that. I can see that, especially with if you like the raw applique and the hand quilting that you did with those beautiful swirls. I can really see that.
Thank you.
So who do you make your quilts for?
Well, prior to starting my business,
Right.
I mostly made them for me out of just like creative out of a necessity to have a creative outlet. So I would just make things just to express myself, and like therapy. We all, quilting is our therapy, right? And then, of course, friends and family and gifts, and then the occasional commission that would come along. So over the last 3 years, I was doing more commissions. I would never like publicly, I wasn't officially selling them, but people who knew me would commission me, and I would do maybe like 3 or 4 where I'm like, look, if you're okay with getting this next year, I'll do it for you. And this is how much it's going to cost. And if you're okay with that, okay. Otherwise, like, go to Macy's and buy a quilt. Not that rude, but that was kind of like the thing. And but now I make them usually for still to like push myself and improve myself as a quilt artist. But lately it's been for my class, making a lot of samples, for my class. And yeah. Hopefully maybe one day I'll start entering into quilt shows. I'll get to that point. I don't know, but like I said, I'm not a perfectionist, so I don't know how well that will go.
I think you're there. I mean, from what I've seen, at the very least, start local and then go bigger. Or I would actually just jump in big and just see what happens.
Oh my God. Thank you for that.
Your quilts are very unique. I haven't seen African wax prints before in a quilt. And I've seen them in clothing, but never in a quilt, or rarely, I should say.
Yeah.
Rarely. Yeah. And I think I think you should do it. I think you should do it.
Oh, thank you, Tori. Okay. I'm going to work on it.
Good. They belong there. Okay. So what was your worst quilting experience?
Actually, my fondest one was my worst quilting experience. So that was the quilt that I showed you earlier. This quilt right here, my first one. For my first quilt, these blocks were a beast because I had to sew these points and Y seams like the squares. That was not a first project to jump into. So I think somewhere I might still have them as a reminder. Some of these blocks were bowls. They were bowls.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you, probably like almost a quarter of the quilt, I kept making the blocks. I was like, I did it. Like, I was so frustrated. I couldn't understand that, they had to match things like that, have to match perfectly. And so that was like the worst thing. But then finally, once I got that block that laid flat, it was like, oh, and then the rest of the light bulb went off. But I just remember being so frustrated and being like, I can't believe I wasted my money buying a sewing machine and doing it. Like, I'm never going to get this. This is not my thing, because math is not my thing. Oh, it's all starting to make sense now. Why I don't like things perfect. Math is not my thing. Wow. So I like to be able to fudge and just kind of, wow. I'm learning a lot about myself through this interview.
Great. I'm glad.
But that was the worst. Yeah.
I love that it turned into your favorite one of your favorite quilts, though. So that's great. And so we did see some of what you're working on now. Do you have anything else you'd want to show us for what you're working on right now?
Let's see. Sure. Let me go back to my little thing here. So actually, oh, I'm in the wrong. I should have had this pulled up. Sorry. Yeah, so actually I'll show you. So this, the quilt that I showed you is a series. So it's a gift that is going to like, someone commissioned me to do one for the person and like their father, who their mother passed away last year.
Oh.
So this one is actually, so I'm working on both of them. So I showed you the earlier one, but this is the first one. So I'm working on two at a time. So it's kind of the same idea. It's really the same idea. So, you know, yeah, just been kind of working on that. Yeah, and I think I kind of showed you everything else. Those three quilts, those three projects, I will say. And then the other thing is working on my class. I'm working on my next online class called Quilting, the Big, the Bold, the Beautiful, Quilting with African Fabrics. Ooh. So I have like all kind of African wax prints over there and working on different patterns to the three of them you have in your blog. So those three quilts are three patterns that I think I'm going to use for my class.
Yeah.
One of them, the one that I just showed you, the chevron one, is definitely one, and then there's the other two. So I'm just kind of playing around with those.
We can see the what you call it? It's not wonk. Is it wonky? Cabin log.
Yeah.
Log cabin. That's what I'm trying to say.
The wonky log cabin. Yeah, that's this one right there. So this has solids, and then it has like all the prints like in the center. So this is kind of this is a modern quilt. Yeah.
I love that little surprise little block in the strip. The little.
This one right here.
Yeah, I love that. When I was picking the pictures for the blog, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this one. And look at this one. And it has the little
the little surprise one.
I love it.
And this is crazy. This isn't one piece of fabric. This is crazy cut.
Oh.
So this is a whole bunch of little pieces here in the center of all of these. So yeah, that's I'm working on that for sure.
I love it.
Thank you.
So what inspired you to move from quilting as a hobby to quilting as a business?
I really just wanted to be able to justify all the money I was spending on my hobby.
Quilting is not a cheap hobby.
I'm like, if I'm spending this money, I need to be bringing some money in. This is ridiculous. There is no way I should be spending this amount of money and there is no return, like other than me feeling good at looking at these pretty colors.
Which is a decent payoff, but not quite there.
Yeah. No, seriously, no. But on the serious tip, I just really was doing it, especially over the pandemic. Actually, so just to flash back a little bit. So when I moved to Los Angeles to come to film school, I was at a crossroads. That was 13 years ago, 13 years ago. I was at a crossroads on whether I wanted to start a quilting business then or go to film school. So I decided that you can probably hear my laundry, my lawnmower, my landscaper now. So I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We can still hear you more, so that's okay.
Yeah. So I was trying to decide between film school or starting a quilt business. and I chose film school.
Okay.
So over the pandemic, I was making quilts like crazy. And it had been something that was just kind of there, lying dormant for all those years. And then one day I just woke up and I was like, because I had moved all my teaching online with my production and film classes, I was like, if I can do that, which was insane.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, teaching quilting, because the commissions, there's no way I can do that. Like, I can't keep up with that. And I only want to do things that I want to do. I don't want to be at the mercy of someone else's timeline.
Yeah.
So I just woke up during the pandemic and was like, oh my God, teaching. So I wanted to be able to do it more. I needed to like justify all the money I was spending. And yeah, so I think those two were kind of the catalyst for my decision to move in this direction.
Yeah. And I think you offer a really unique perspective on quilting. And I think that it's going to do well.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I mean, I love what you do. I'm just like, this is amazing.
If it's just me and you, girl, it's good enough for me. I have one fan, me and Tori.
I'm a fan. I'll follow everything that you do. I think it's amazing. So, what is your business name?
Kena Quilt Studio.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next question is, tell me about your business name. So how did you come up with your business name?
Oh, it was so hard. That's tough. That was like probably one of the most thought-provoking things in terms of, working out my business, is like, how do I come up with the name? And I came up with the name because I had a list. Mm-hmm. Like going through the patchwork course that we started. One of the ideas was just like, I just came up with a whole list and just started eliminating things. And then I came down to like 6 different choices. And then I just kind of shopped those. I sent them to friends. I sent them to quilt friends. I sent them to family and just wanted to see like what resonated, but I knew what was resonating with me. So I couldn't decide on Kena Quilt Studio or Kena Quilts. Okay. Was like the 2 final things. So I ended up going with both. So Kena Quilt Studio is my business and Kena Quilts are my products in my social media. So that's how it kind of came out. But I went with Kena Quilt Studio because I knew I was going to grow out my business and have many different sort of aspects of it. It wasn't just going to be one aspect of quilting. So I was going to quilt. I was going to produce quilt shows later on, because production is my background. So I want to really, and I wrote out a proposal for a quilt show like 5 years ago that I wanted to produce. I just thought I'd be producing it. But, and then I knew I was going to teach. I knew I would want to a community outreach aspect of my business, which, I didn't tell you about that. But okay, next time I'll go in. I don't know if there's time, but I'll go into that. But I like, write that down. Introducing kids and like going to inner city and having kids sort of get involved in quilting and expressing themselves that way, and creating opportunities for sort of minorities to become more involved in the art of quilting. So I knew there's like and I have like all of these sort of ideas. And so I was like, okay, I just want something that is going to encompass it all. And then Kena Quilts can be like all of my creations. So yeah. Kena Creation was in there. Kena Quilts, Kena Quilt Studio. There were 3 others. I can't remember, but I have them written down. So that's how ultimately I settled on Kena Quilt Studio, because I felt that would just catch all. And then I can sort of create these different departments as I grow.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh, I love what you're going to do. This is going to be great. Okay. So would you like to show off your quilting space?
Sure. So this is my first time I'm doing virtually. What do people usually do? They just take their camera and just walk around?
Just walk around or
Okay.
turn, whatever's easier for you.
Okay, so I'll start here. This is just the wide shot. So my studio, like I told you, I teach online, and so I have it set up that way. So it's a little, I have cameras and lights everywhere. So I'll show you that. I'll move to my other camera and I'll show you that. So, oops, I'll move to this one. So I'm going to zoom out. All right, so there's on this side of the room is my design wall. And you can see, and I'll raise this up. So, all right, so, and then my big window, and then I'll just kind of circle around.
Whoops.
Tori, I
okay?
just knocked my camera out. There you go. It's gonna come back on in 1 second.
Okay.
Do I have you?
Yeah, we see a window. Okay, we're back.
Okay, sorry. my bad. That's what happens when you try and,
change
playing around with cables in the way. Okay, yeah. So here's the other side of the room, and you can see that's blown out because of my window. So I'll go back this way. And then over here, I have, so it's my cutting table. This is my workspace. Overhead, you can kind of see my camera, my overhead. And then that's kind of, and then over here is my sewing area.
There's your machine.
There's my machine. I have the Janome Horizon something. Memory craft. Yeah, that's what it is. So that's where I sew. And then I usually move my sewing machine over like here to my work, like when I'm working on bigger stuff. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, so over here, I'll zoom in. That's kind of like, these are a lot of my African fabrics there. And then more, I'll take, that's my cue sheet for
hey, we need those.
There, we need those.
Beautiful.
And then, okay, so now I'll go this way. So obviously my studio is in my house. Mm-hmm. More threads and things like that. And then I'll swing around, let me see. I'll swing around this way. And then I have a secondary room, which is like my catch-all junk room. I will not show you that.
I think all of us might have something, or a closet or something like that.
Ooh. There. I have a few more quilts hanging up there. And then
they're so pretty.
My other camera. So that's kind of it without going into detail. So I have threads and fabric, my cutting table, my workspace. That's pretty much my sewing room.
Thank you for showing us that. It's always fun to see behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's, you're like, what's going on? And then I have another room off to the side. Oh, sorry, my exposure got really light when I opened it up. I got really bright. Let me turn this down because I'm blown out now. So yeah, I have another room, and then I have like threads and more fabric and batting. So this is kind of like my immediate area right here.
Yeah. I love it.
Thank you.
I love that the purple's all the way around. I love the inspirational.
The purple is all the way around.
Yeah. I love the inspirational quilts you have on the wall. Mine are down right now because I took them to a color class. So I'm like, I miss mine.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You teach color confidence, don't you?
I do. Yes, I do.
I was thinking about doing that, and we can talk about that more. You can tell me like what your experience is and getting your certification and everything for that.
Definitely. It's been fun. Shorthand. It's been fun. Okay, so we're almost done here. We've been talking a lot. It's so much fun talking to you. So do you have a professional tip for our quilters out there?
Yes. So,
It could be
so
one off the top
I
of your
had,
head. It could be one that you gave to the article, whatever you like to share.
yeah. So I guess so. My tip was kind of specific. Is that okay? So it was specific
So
to African.
I think it's okay.
So, um, so one of the so if you would like to venture into work at African wax prints, which I highly recommend getting, you know, just playing around with it. It tends to be intimidating for quilters sometimes because the colors and the patterns and the repeats are not like they're just all over the place. It's just really challenging. So my tip is to lean into that and embrace it. You have to throw caution to the wind and forget about your traditional quilting rules and really go with the fabric. So there's sort of an improv aspect that goes with working with those fabrics. So my tip is when working with those fabrics is to let the fabrics be the star. African wax fabrics can be divas. They want to be the highlight, they want to be the center of attention. So put them in a position where they can shine. So that means using them either together, they play well together, or letting them shine by placing them between solids or really sort of low scale tone on tone prints so that they can really shine. So that'll be kind of your entryway into learning. And then once you get comfortable, you can learn how to cut them and use them in tradition and just like go with it and see how it. So I hope that was helpful.
It is. And having that the log cabin right behind you is a great example of exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. That was keep it simple first, and then you can venture out and play.
Yeah. Awesome. So where can we find before we go into that, I would like to ask about the community. Did you talk any more about the community outreach? I wrote it down.
Oh, yeah. So I did, working with kids and quilting. So I recently did a diversity day with some 7th graders. And I told them about, African American quilts and story quilts and the Underground Railroad quilts, which I don't know if you're familiar with.
A little bit.
A little bit. And so we talked about that, and then we had them create. So I made templates for all of them, and I had them make applique blocks.
Okay.
Yeah. And so those blocks, each one got to pick like a template, and they could pick there was like a smorgasbord of skin tones, hair colors, and then we took African prints and they could use those for the clothing and then make an applique block. And so I took all of their blocks, and then with those blocks, I'm going to sew all of their blocks together and make a quilt, and that's going to hang in our school. If you have 1 second, I can show you quickly what some of Okay. All right, cool. All right, well, I'm just scrolling. It was so much fun, Tori, and the kids were amazing. And it was really interesting that some of them chose to make quilts in their likeness, and some of them made quilts that were they just wanted to make quilts of someone that looked different. And so it was so beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you a couple. So, all right, so I'll just go through this way. So I made a number of templates for them. So you can see the templates, and they got to choose one. And then they could choose like a skin color. Mm-hmm. And then they choose a hair color. And then they can choose, like, I cut all of these charm for like clothes. And then they made the blocks. And here here, oh, here we go. I went too far. Here are all the blocks we made.
Oh, it's amazing.
Isn't that great?
Oh, I love that.
They did so great. And so these are seventh graders. So I'm going to take all of those blocks and sew more like kente cloth in between, like sashing. And it's going to be big.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to and quilt it and say something like, our school loves diversity day, or, some writing or something. So that's another project that I'm working on. So that was a bonus.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. So that's introducing them to quilting.
I'm sorry. So that idea I want to take into the community and do build on that.
Yeah.
That whole idea and do something reach out to some associations or organizations or community centers or something like that and bring that to the community.
And it's simple, but I think it would be powerful.
I think so. They really got into it. They really got into it. I was blown away how much they were into it.
That's great. That's amazing. Thank you for showing us that.
Thank you for indulging.
Of course. So where can we find more information about you, or where to keep in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can visit me on my website at www.kenaquiltstudio.com. And there you will learn more about me, a little bit about, if you're interested in hiring quilt teacher, or you can also find out all my online on-demand classes and sign up for my newsletter. You can find my blogs and my newsletter and when new classes are happening. That's my website. And if you want to see what I'm up to, you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. And that's at Kena Quilts for both Facebook and Instagram.
I love your Instagram.
Oh, thank you. I love yours too. Yours
Well, we'll have all those linked in the bottom in the description of this video, so you can go find those links to go and look at her website and her Instagram and her Facebook. And I think we have, last question is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we head out?
I think we covered it all, girl. Just that it's a pleasure to be amongst in the quilting community. It's been really wonderful. And I had one for real, no follow. I started my Instagram account 6 months ago. And just the love and the embracing and the support from quilt admirers and professional quilters, and the wealth of knowledge and sharing has been truly, truly wonderful and inspiring. And so it's just a pleasure that I've been, welcomed so seamlessly. And thank you for your help. I know you've been here a year and a half, but even just watching you and seeing your work and your blogs has just been amazing. So thanks for just embracing me and reaching out to me and allowing me to share what I do with everybody.
It's been so much fun talking to you today. I hope that you have a great, oh my gosh, we talked about so many things, just everything coming out. I'm so excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
I hope it's amazing for you. So we're going to go ahead and end our little coffee chat today. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Tori. You too.